Hey everyone, so today is probably the last day of summer before autumn actually takes over. uh, um, as you can see, things are still kind of green, but the browns and the reds and those golden colors are starting to show themselves in these shots. So hopefully we don't get rained out. We're supposed to have thunderstorms today. So I thought today would be an awesome day to come out and talk about land spirits, land guardians, like space and place guardians and protectors. Um, Talk about the past, the present, and the future when it comes to looking at wild spaces like this and how we can connect with it in that kind of witchy spiritual way. So of course, everything that I'm going to share here is from my own lived experience. This is just the way that I have come in my own life to understand these different things from the point of view as a witch in my own spirituality, connected into my studies, tying it into various aspects of science, but also from my own family traditions. And so it kind of all is married together in this topic, of which this video is only going to be like 15-20 minutes, so I can't obviously fit it all in there, but I thought this would be a good way to kind of start with things on this nature walk. So this used to be an old homestead that has now been under the stewardship of the county and is a preserve. So all of nature that you see here is natural. The trees are naturally spreading. The grasses are naturally spreading. All of the plants that you're going to see are literally just doing their thing. And one of the beautiful things of this area for me, which shows healing, is the amount of wild sage that is growing throughout these grass areas. And I find that to be such a gorgeous thing because it speaks to me when I see that the spirits here are also healthy. So the energies here sometimes can be seen as scary, sometimes they are seen as beautiful, and sometimes they are completely missed. I think that there's an entire family between cryptid and fae, little people, just mysteries, as well as those guardians. And when we come to places like this, we are opening ourselves to be able to be with them, to recognize them, to maybe understand them better, and just kind of allow ourselves to be seen, and for them maybe to show themselves to us. Whenever I go places like this, I also make sure that I talk to my ancestors, that I am protected, and that nothing follows me home. And I also have an awareness that I don't leave anything here, other than my experience being here, adding to like the library of memories here. So I want to make sure I come here with good intentions, because I believe that wherever we go to places, the energy that we bring, the energy of our intentions, is going to be met. So if we go to places like this and we're interacting with spirit, whether we're doing paranormal investigations or we're here just to experience a place, the energy that we bring is the energy that they're going to return. So if we come here with a boastful, or we want them to we want to have like that paranormal experience, we want to catch something, we want to have them react or be reactive, and sometimes we try to provoke them, we taunt them, all of that kind of stuff I see as being negative behavior. It's really us kind of being assholes. We're going into their own spaces, and whether it's human spirit or non-human spirit, I think that when we do that, we're just showing our human arrogance rather than going and experiencing it. And I think that we can see that in the way that they become reactive, protective, trying to get us to go away by scaring us or things like this. I've had very, very few scary experiences as I've matured in myself and understood that the world is more than just me. And that is also like come into my witchcraft, of course. So when I go to places like this, the way that I do that personally is I do a little bit of research about the land, more than just like the human interactions, but the actual movement, like were the ice glaciers that used to form all of northern United States. what were the trees that used to be here? What happened to those trees? Like, the frontiers and all the things that moved through here. So this particular location, from my research, used to be an area of old growth trees. This used to be a deep forest. And some of the trees were like, you could not reach your arms around them. There are pictures of loggers that had come through here, and during the late 17 and 1800s, and all of those trees are gone. But I believe the spirit of those trees are still here, and the memory of them is in the microorganisms, the mycelium that's in the soil. And sometimes when we are recording places like this, we get things that are strange anomalies that look like tall, trunked shadow things. And I personally believe that those are the spirit of those trees. I generally pick them up myself when it's very dense and misty, and I can't make out what I'm looking at when I go back later, and my theory is that they're trees. So some people might say I'm crazy for some of these topics, but that's okay. I always try to take things with a critical eye, and I'm a skeptic of most things until I can't explain it away, and even then I'm just like, okay, that was weird, and leave it at that. Back to this area. So when I look out at this area and I acknowledge the fact that this used to be an old growth forest, of course I'm going to ask what happened. And knowing that this was a homestead that homesteaded in the early 1800s, like 1820, 1830, and the structures that we're going to see later on were recorded to have been built in 1850s to 1870s. For buildings of the United States, that is really old. I know other places in the world that's pretty young. But yeah, so in addition to acknowledging the fact that all of these trees were cut down, I always try to acknowledge just the spirit of what was as I am walking through here. It doesn't take very much. It's just a thought in the back of my mind as I'm going through here. And I believe that when we intellectually think about those things, it actually shows in our energy when we are in these spaces. I think that those thoughts in your back of your mind, as well as the thoughts that you're focused on, are all part of an energy signature that is our language. And I believe that the nature spirits very keenly understand that energy signature, those languages that are of energy. When I'm saying that, what I mean is how you can say a dog can smell fear, or animals or bees can sense your energy. That's the kind of energy that I'm talking about. And I think it begins with our mind, with our thoughts, and with our intentions. And we're always thinking about things and feeling things and setting intentions, whether we're aware of it or not. And I think when we tune in to who we are and we become active, I hate to use the word mindfulness, but that's kind of the best way I can think of it. Having just like a knowing of self as we're going into places like this helps us interact with the spirits of the land, and it leads to things that are very beautiful, so that we are not having any negative experiences. Generally, they're positive. Now, I have gone to places where I have felt get out. They're not wanted here, and I pause wondering what has happened. And generally those places have been abused, oil spills, or just trash that is built up, and it's just very depressing. And sometimes I've gone back with a big box of garbage bags and tried to do what I could, and then I leave it alone. And other times, there's a particular barn that used to stand near where I live. It's one of those round barns. And it was quite beautiful, and so we used to go there and take pictures of it all the time. But I always had this sense not to enter it. It felt that the way that the barn was abandoned, maybe things happened in that barn that were sad or something, I don't know. But I always had the sensation not to go into the barn, and so I always respected that. So those are the kind of things that I kind of wanted to start talking about, just kind of being keenly aware of ourselves when we go to places like this, and how that can benefit working with land spirits. I know in a lot of videos I've talked about doing nature walks and walks like city parks and such. Just kind of saying hi to the trees. You know, it doesn't have to be like a full conversation. But just kind of a smile and acknowledgement is a nonverbal hello. I think that brings kind of a familiarity to these spaces and understanding like the energy signature of all locations. I believe that every area has its own kind of vibe, its own energy, and I believe that is the spirit of what is happening there, the spirit of the location, say if it's a building or a wilderness, as well as the human interactions or animal interactions, or all of the things that are of the unseen that are present in those places. So as I was saying, that field was old growth forest. And one of the things that I think is magical is when I see this barn, its wood is very, very old. And it tells me that those trees for the structures here are being preserved. So they aren't lost, they aren't gone. The way that everything here has worked together, it's really a story when you pause and just look at it. A story about nature, and a story about humans, and a story about the spirits of the space. So I came over and I sat in the middle of what I would imagine was the grazing field or something. But as I'm doing it, I am taking in the sensations that I'm picking up on from the area. I'm listening to the wind that is going through the trees. I'm paying attention to the crickets. Are they going silent when I go near? Are the birds leaving the area? Are they staying present? Because what I'm doing right now in my own way is allowing myself to fully be seen by the spirits of the space, allowing them to know my headspace, my intentions, just truly allowing myself to be seen, and in such attempting to see them. Right now I'm getting warm feelings in my belly, which is kind of a comforting sensation. It's something that feels very inviting. And so even as I approach the barn door, I'm still going to stand here and allow myself to be seen. I'm not just going to push my way through just because the door is open. I always come up here and I put my hand on the barn door before I enter as a way of saying hi. It's like shaking someone's hand to me. I do believe that it's kind of like an act of consent, of being invited and receiving that invite before I enter. So places like this are a little bit different from like tourist ruins that have tours. This is a place that is independent to itself, and so I believe that the energy there is uniquely different. And that's why I put such care in allowing myself to be seen before I enter a place like this. And one of the things that I love about entering this barn is the fact that you can see the dedication that went into building this barn. Even the wood slices that might not have been usable, just love seeing the way that every piece of this property has been turned into this kind of intention, this kind of dedicated focus for every resource to be used in a really good way. And now we are going into what my grandfather would call the nave of the barn, or the center of the barn. And we really could not figure out what this space would have been used for because it has a dirt floor. But being that it's a ruin, it could have looked differently, and these sidewalls that are here might be more modern, more new for people to stay out of that area. But looking at the structure on the inside, like the bones of the structure, and seeing these wood beams that are beautifully preserved, that is part of that old growth forest that would have been in that field walking up here. I absolutely love it. And then we had a special moment where I will be quiet so that you can hear. More in the corner. Oh, I thought you were standing right next to me. So I am not sure if that was the pigeons or some other sound from the barn itself, but I will say that when it happened, I heard a whisper over my shoulder, and I turned to think it was one of my friends, and the whole group was standing almost on the opposite side of the barn, and I was by myself, and I was like, oh, I thought you were standing right next to me, and they were just like, nope. But we did then just stand and watch these pigeons that were flying back and forth, just listening to them. I don't think it was caught correctly on the camera, but the way that they have that humming song, and it just echoed through the whole thing, and it was really beautiful. So then we explored the other side of the barn. This door really got me thinking about threshold magic, which is a video that I've been trying to work on. I haven't found the right location to record it. I don't want to do my own home, of course, because doxing. And I was really looking for like an abandoned house or a ruin area that feels okay with me recording it in that way. So it is something that is in the works. I have been working on it. But yeah, this door, I love the way that the vines are growing in, and just that it feels like this balance of human interaction and nature. I love it. Okay, so my camera ran out of batteries, as it does when there is a lot of spirit activity, I think. So the rest of this is recorded just on my phone, and it's just kind of enough to share this little woodland area that is past the barn leading down to the Mississippi. And I could just imagine how many times buckets of water were fetched from the Mississippi and brought up to that area. The back and forth. But it has left this beautiful little forest preserve where the rain literally is like transforming this location. And as you can see, there are little fairy doors, there is moss growing. It's really gorgeous. And the rain and how it comes down this is what has been mostly maintaining the overgrowth year after year. And just if you're around nature places like this, you kind of recognize that, especially when you can see underneath the tree and how the roots have been exposed, but then the moss like covers them in a way to protect them and preserve them so that the roots aren't injured. I am bewitched by nature. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and close this video. Hopefully I didn't talk your ear off. I do thank you for your time. I feel that humans sharing time in this is the most valuable thing that we can do. And with so many other witches and so many other awesome YouTubers out there, I really do appreciate you sharing your time with me. So thank you so much. So if you like this video, let me know in the comments below, please. I'll make more of them. The topic of the paranormal and spirit is so vast, like it could be 100 videos. But if you have any like questions, if you want to pick my brain, I would love to hear them and see if I can turn those into videos. Of course, I can only like share my own experiences. My curiosity with spirit and the paranormal began way back in like the 80s. And so I've been to a lot of locations. I've experienced a lot of things. And so I would love to be able to start sharing things like this. Yes, I do it as a job now also, but I don't ever like, make it into like videos or things like that, because I don't think it shouldn't be about that. But some of the things that I have experienced would be awesome to share. So anyways, hopefully you're having a beautiful day or night wherever you are. And as always, happy witching. There's a ghost at the end of the hallway. Oh my gosh, that looks really cool.